What's up, you guys? This is Fear10 and welcome back to the channel. So we're gonna continue watching this Yuki hearing, and we're gonna see how Epic Games and the EA representatives deal with this bombardment of questions that they are trying to dodge. In some cases, EA is probably better at dodging the questions, and Epic Games is pretty much failing pretty miserably, in my opinion. But you guys watch with me and let me know your thoughts on this. And the loot boxes, I didn't want to make it feel like it was clickbaity on the first part, because obviously it's going to continue into this, but we're going to see that surprise mechanics from the EA representative. So let's continue watching this.
As part of your offer, one of the things you mentioned is are able to define individual spending pattern according to any kind of age group or
no,
you don't do that either.
No,
must be quite difficult from a marketing point of view. And
you know what? I'm telling you, man, Epic Games, they're really like, it feels like one of the other things. They're not prepared at all, or he doesn't even know the company's internal goings, or he's trying to dodge them, because like parental controls, like, they should be able to keep track of that if they're applying something like that, right? I mean, it's not rocket science. The people that they target for spending, who are they targeting? That is basic stuff for a company. Epic Games, man, you're really killing yourselves.
do you believe that, example, that there is a legitimate concern that your game, in certain circumstances, is addictive to both young players and older players? Or do you refute the claims that I read to you from just now?
I think so I know that it's highly compelling and engaging, and that people get really excited about it. And
They get really concerned. They get concerned about it.
Like most things in the world, there is a way to have an unhealthy level of engagement, like even exercise. So I'm sure that there are people who have
Finally,
an unhealthy level of engagement there. So I don't.
An answer that I actually like
to say
from
that
him.
A person who feels like someone they care about spends too much time in Fortnite is wrong. I would have to see that on a case by case. But no, I wouldn't say they're wrong about what they state.
Mr. Pence, do you accept the World Health Organization's definition of gaming disorder?
No.
Do you accept the definition they've given it?
No.
I mean, I don't. I understand that has happened. I'm not an expert on that process. We do participate in industry organizations which have taken issue with the manner and process that has gone through, and I also understand that there's plenty of debate over whether that process was proper. I wish that I knew a lot more about it. I believe
you think they're wrong? The World Health Organization have run a flawed process and come out with a flawed result?
Yes.
My understanding, and I'm not in a position to speak with a much position of knowledge on it, but I
find that incredible. As the general counsel of your company, that you're not in a position to speak about it, I find extraordinary.
Okay, but we rely on our trade organizations to do that.
Well, you shouldn't. You should have responsibility for your own company and your own customers. It's not what the trade body's there for. They maybe lobby for you, but you're the one that has responsibility. These are your users and it's your company.
I think that's a little unfair.
Well, I don't. So the game, they define gaming disorder, the World Health Organization, as impaired control over gaming and the continuation or escalation of gaming despite occurrence of negative consequences. So it's an addiction, in the sense that it's something people feel compelled to do even though it's hurting them. That's the definition there. I'm not aware of a definition of the World Health Organization defining excessive reading or excessive exercise in the same way as a form of addiction. So, I mean, it seems to me you could disregard what the World Health Organization has said, and it seems to me that's your position. But again, I think going back to what other members were asking about duty of care, would it not be responsible of a company to actually consider the guidance given by the World Health Organization, and therefore consider whether they have a duty of care to their users, to consider whether some of those users may fall into this definition of being victims of a gaming disorder. Do you think that would be the action of a responsible company to do that?
So now, I think, I don't know if he's trying to, like, not saying that the previous answers that they gave were like, how are they managing, basically, like, to limit players from playing too much or getting too addicted. And Epic's answer, from my understanding, is how I heard it, is that they're trying to make the game as, like, they don't have to play for long periods of time in order to, like, get certain items. Like, they can just jump in one day, do the dailies, and bam, maybe just do 1 hour, and then jump in the next day another hour, and maybe in the weekend they can finish up I think that's the answer that Epic is trying to give to the council. But it seems like they don't find that, or maybe they're not fully understanding that answer, and then they're like feeling like, nope, that's not enough. You guys keep talking about gameplay, but how does, I don't hear like a more concrete solution or a way of, solving that problem.
A responsible company would exercise to identifying players who may be potentially suffering from a gaming disorder because they're playing the game excessively in a way that is not good, is not part of their enjoyment, but is become a compulsion they can't control. And I've not heard anything that suggests that your company believes that is something you have a responsibility to monitor.
We don't have a mechanism in place that automatically sets limits on that. That's fair.
But I didn't mention setting limits. I said as you can monitor. You clearly, from what you said, in answer to other questions, the company gathers data about usage.
Yes.
So it'd be quite easy to identify people that were playing over a set amount of time. But, I think it's interesting sort of us because there are lots of reports. I mean, my colleague Simon Hart has read things out from a quick Google search. We've quoted newspaper articles. I quoted what Prince Harry thought. We've quoted what the WHO thinks. And your response to all of it is that basically all these people are wrong, and you're right, and there's not a problem, and you're so confident there's not a problem you don't even monitor it.
Man, it's because, like, all of this stuff that they're saying is pretty easy to fight back, but man, I mean, he's right. All of this stuff it's so easy that, if you are a company or even somebody just generally knows about games, you're gonna have heard about this. You might have already thought about something that you can say against it. But I mean, it's kind of like mind-boggling that this guy, he's just like, he doesn't have no concrete answers. He doesn't have, like, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. So, man, they're really digging their own grave there.
You would agree that a company like yourselves should have a code of ethics. And we've heard a lot of evidence in this committee from Dr. David Zendel, among others, that loot boxes are mostly linked to problem gambling, particularly among
Lootboxes.
Can I ask
EA.
you, both companies, do you consider loot boxes to be an ethical feature of your games? Kerry?
Well, first, we don't call them loot boxes.
Here it comes.
Other terms you wish to apply to them, do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as surprise mechanics, but I think it's important to look at this. So if you go to a I don't know what your version of Target is, but a store that sells a lot of toys, and you do a search for surprise toys, what you'll find is that this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises, and so it's something that's been part of toys for years, whether it's Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. We do think the way that we have implemented these kind of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one, our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs, is actually quite ethical and quite fun, enjoyable to people. We agree with the UK Gambling Commission, the Australian Gambling Commission, and many other gambling commissions that they aren't gambling. And we also disagree that there's evidence that shows it leads to gambling. Instead, we think it's like many other products that people enjoy in a very healthy way, and like the element of surprise.
I mean, it's so ridiculously, like, she says it like she believes it or she wants people to believe it. And even the councilman, he like chuckled when she said that we don't believe they're loot boxes, they're surprise mechanics. It would be I would believe her if loot boxes were like either one didn't cost no money or very little money and had little impact to the gameplay, which is totally opposite of how FIFA, even Battlefront 2 was when they decided to take all the loot boxes, but it ruined the game because loot boxes are integrated into the game. So that's why they're so bad, and it's like people are basically paying to get an advantage. That's the type of like microtransactions, loot boxes I hate. That's the thing that we pretty much agree that loot boxes, and especially pay to win, shouldn't be in games that you pay $60, especially with EA, where you pay $60 and on top of that you still have to pay these loot boxes or card packs, whatever you want to call them, in order to even get pretty fair competition against people that you're playing online. I have not ever heard anybody that they enjoy loot boxes. What the councilman says about this.
Okay, so just to be absolutely clear, your loot boxes or surprise mechanics, you have no ethical qualms whatsoever with.
So I think you're recharacterizing my language. What I said is I think the way we've implemented our FIFA Ultimate Team Packs is ethical.
Okay, other than FIFA and other games that you provide, are you equally comfortable and relaxed about?
For all of the games we have on the market that have a randomized content mechanic, a surprise mechanic, a loot box, I have no qualms that they are implemented in an unethical way.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's in your company's interest to not lose loot boxes because they probably even make more than half of your revenue. But yeah, say that they're quite enjoyable and they're ethical.
I'll ask you a question, but let me follow up on that. Holland and Belgium, or the Netherlands and Belgium, have classified the surprise mechanics as gambling, haven't they?
Belgium and Netherlands have taken a different view from every other gambling commission in the world.
Okay, why then would two of our European neighbours take that view?
They have different gambling laws, and in fact, I'm not sure how familiar you are with their views, but their views as to why these mechanics violate their laws are different. They're not the same view. They both have a very different interpretation, and they have a different law. And they decided, the regulator, not the courts, decided that under their local law, these mechanics under certain circumstances violate the law.
And it was violating the law because it was a player was able to cash out in-game items for real world value. Is that right?
Would you like me to get into the interpretation? The Belgian, no, that was not their view. Their view was that any loot box mechanic, any randomized content mechanic, if you paid for it, automatically violated the law. It didn't matter if there was external game sale. The Dutch take a very different view, and they say both paid and unpaid loot box mechanics violate the law, but only if they can be traded. So there what you're seeing is regulators making an interpretation under the local law that's quite different than what every other regulator in the European Federation of Gambling Regulators have decided.
So should we take it then that the response of your company would be that a government would have to make a ruling and legislate against something before you will take action?
Oh, now this is really like, it's like in a way you want loot boxes to go away, but then another way you don't want the government to intervene in order to that happen. So now it becomes like where players, if they didn't like something, they can voice their their concerns, as the best way is with your wallets, and then the companies would be forced in order to change their practices. But now, since EA has become so big, and maybe they have like probably like a pretty decent size of people that pay for these microtransactions, and regardless if a lot of the people that play the game, but if they're not spending the money and they're getting that money from somebody else, they're not gonna care about changing their things. So now the government stepped in Belgium, and they had to make this ruling. So now this gives a precedent for other countries to say, you know what? So that means that you guys can't regulate yourself. We have to have, government intervention. And hopefully that does not become a thing, because it can actually turn for the worse, not just for gaming companies, but for gamers overall.
I found your answers very evasive. Were you coached before you came here on how to answer questions? No, you didn't pay any external...
Oh, shit. Damn, I didn't actually think somebody was gonna say that. I mean, obviously for all of us that be watching, or is it just me? But yeah, it's true, man. He's super evasive with his question.
Advisor to advise you on how to answer questions here today.
We had, after our, I don't know what you call it, prep call with your committee, we did seek English counsel advice.
It shows.
You saw his face, is like,
What is the benefit that you determine it comes from providing FIFA points that can be monetised? Why, if there's so much of a problem for the game, you have to put in so many efforts to try and stop people acting fraudulently. What is it that you think they add to the game that you feel that they are worth the while? If you feel that there's such a...
All right, let me answer that question, because one, it gives EA a lot of money.
If this is such a great problem that you've got to work with the FBI and you've got to work so hard to stop it re-entering your games where people can monetise it there, is it worth all that problem? Or what is it about it that you feel it's an important part of the game?
Oh, this is gonna be good. I want to see how she or he.
Perspective is that ability to then get the pack, so those bundles of items for players, kit, etc. in the game. It's one of the most important features to them. It's when you look at what Ultimate Team is.
Most important features to them, or is it for you guys, huh? That's very, very debatable. It's for you guys. You guys are the ones that are important to you. Obviously, that's the whole point. You even have the FBI. You have a whole goddamn team to make sure that people are not stealing these coins, because you know that you lose money when you guys are not the ones selling it.
It's about being able to build your best virtual team, and so the ability to do that is about being able to earn those good coins to do that. So, taking that mechanic out essentially prevents one.
Taking that mechanic out doesn't make you that money. That's why.
One of the most appealing things for players about the game is I want to have my perfect team that I can then play against, another, my best friend against another competitor. So it's a key feature of the game that players enjoy, and it's been the driver from a perspective. You look at FIFA Ultimate.
You see these EA guys, man, they're the representatives, man. They're so good at lying, man, that you can almost see that little darkness in their eyes. And they don't even probably believe themselves when they say that, but they make it seem so, though. God damn, they're good at lying.
Team we've had in the game for over 10 years, and it's continued to increase in popularity. But it's about that ability to build your team.
Right, but if
or to buy your team, not build it.
The best players in the world in my team doesn't mean I'm going to win.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But the packs, the surprise. We talked about this a little bit before. That's fun for people. They enjoy it. They like earning the packs, opening the packs, building the teams, trading the teams. The thing about FIFA Ultimate Team is it's not any one of those things, whether it's the points or the coins or the packs or the items or the trading market or building your team. It's an integrated, really well-designed mode in a game that we launched 11 years ago and is, I would guess, arguably one of the most popular game modes in the world. All those pieces go together. They're very balanced and they go together, and players love playing them. And because it's so popular,
you know why it goes together? Because if you take those FIFA packs or the microtransactions, you guys won't get that money and the game will fall apart.
Commercially successful, that's why we are a target for the bad guys.
In a sense, it might be fair to say you're creating a fun game and everything, but inadvertently along the way you're creating a monster. So are you in future going to take corporate responsibility over care of duty? Will you look at that? Will you come back so you won't have any more awkward sessions like perhaps today has been to a certain extent, so that in the future we can safeguard the vulnerable in our societies? I'll ask the guys from Epic first.
He's like, no, they'll pick us first. You know what? seeing this in its entirety, I could see, you know, a little bit of both sides. As a person that enjoys games, you know, I don't want them to be heavily regulated. The real discussion is that they should, you know, look into this more, you know, because obviously at this point nobody has the answer. So I can see that. I
certainly acknowledge that there's certainly more that the industry can do, and we ourselves, just on the Epic side, do and have made improvements there, and I anticipate continuing to do so, both for ourselves and in participation with industry groups like ESA in the United States or Yuki here, etc. It's certainly our hope to continue to make improvements
Yes,
there.
I wasn't expecting a commitment. I was expecting the answer from a lawyer, but thank you. That's really, yes, on the
I'll try not to give you a lawyer's answer, and I haven't found today at all awkward, so hopefully you haven't either. So first of all, I don't think we can agree to say that games are addictive, and I actually don't believe the World Health Organization decision to designate a gaming disorder uses the word addiction or refers to games as being addictive.
That it constitutes continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences, which it doesn't use the word addiction, but that is a definition of what addiction is.
Yeah. Sure, but what it doesn't say is that games are inherently addictive. What it says is some people suffer from a disorder. And the World Health Organization put out a video and said, what we're not saying is that people who play a long time, play a lot of hours, are addicted or have this disorder. They said it's something a doctor would need to diagnose. They said it's far more than playing a lot. So I think it's a very new designation and one that the industry does have responsibility.
I didn't know that EA can actually come up with a good answer like that for that.
More medical practitioners.
They only get a thumbs up for this one.
Weighing in on it. And it's
because it's obviously in their interest.
Absolutely.
To people that haven't played for a while, to encourage them to come back and play. So presumably to do that through Facebook, you would have to have Facebook data about Facebook users that haven't played for a while.
So when it comes to actual targeting for advertisements on Facebook, we, again, take a very conservative approach in terms of sharing any sort of data or information with Facebook. And actually, Epic as a company, we don't provide any of that information in terms of being able to identify and target those groups. Facebook has existing groups that they have created that we can target in terms of advertising, but it's not information that we're contributing.
Well, they've got it already. They've already got it, so you don't have to give it to them.
Not through the login information, no. We use the general Facebook advertising tools. We don't upload, for example.
I don't know if I'm understanding this incorrectly, and he's understanding correctly, but from my understanding or from his questioning, you know, like when you want to advertise something, and Facebook basically has the group already because they're already been collecting the data. So I think he's probably thinking that he's asking him that he's doing that, but no, in turn he's telling him that Facebook is doing it. He's just like basically paying Facebook to data that they should have, you know, because they're using their own data in order to advertise for their fans, basically.
We can take a look. I mean, I think like Epic, we're pretty cautious about sharing, and certainly sharing any data that the consumer hasn't allowed us to share, but I don't have enough information to be very articulate on that.
Yeah, and so presumably as well, like you know, as we discussed with Epic, I mean, Facebook, if people are using a login tool, then Facebook will be gathering information about when they log in and what games and so on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I imagine as with Epic, you could market back to those users through Facebook using that data as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have information on that particular thing you're asking us about. I knew you would ask about the Facebook login, so I actually checked with our privacy team and confirmed it was just the hash. I didn't know you would ask that question, so I'm not prepared for that one.
Okay. I think that concludes the questions that we have. Thank you all very much. Thank you for travelling all this way with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So it was pretty interesting to see these guys squirm a little bit. It's a lot, man. It's a lot to like. I see the point of view of the council. You know, they want to get an idea of how these companies are running, you know, games and how is, you know, affecting kids, how is it affecting people in general. From one of the parts that I see is that yes, the companies have to take a little bit more responsibility of how it affects, but it shouldn't be solely their responsibility, right? that they can improve. Obviously, the age verification on Epic's part, I feel like they have to get something going, because I mean it's really easy to have kids log in, create an account, or it's easy for them to log in. Not just from it'll be hard for them on consoles, but any other place it'll be easy for them. EA's instance in the loot boxes, where they try to make it seem like it was, players enjoy that shit was like horseshit, right? Nobody believed that. Probably only themselves even believe that. Part of themselves don't even believe that either. So I'm hoping that this kind of sheds light into what's going on in the gaming industry. We want them to we want gaming companies to improve their policies, improve their effect on games, definitely take away loot boxes, and not be predatory towards people that are more susceptible to them. That I can agree that that definitely needs to improve, because like I don't mind microtransactions when they're optional and they don't affect gameplay, but I do mind when they're ingrained into the game, made for the players to have to purchase them. That I'm definitely not okay with. Maybe you guys have a different opinion. I would like to hear that down in the comment box below. But as always, remember that if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. Please, hit that like, share if you want to share this information with your friends, for other people to see this, and hit that notification bell if you are subscribing. Want to keep yourself updated for more content like this. And remember that this was Fury D10. I'll be seeing you guys later.